how good it is to know that God or Spirit or the universe or the divine or the beloved or whatever your personal preference for name. I like Sweet Spirit. It feels yummy. That Sweet Spirit is in everything. That is the starting point of this month of joy. This month we're talking boundless joy. And today we're talking about making space for joy. And it's important that we start off by remembering that the joy of which we speak is not yay, 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 yay. I mean, it is that. It's just not only that. We're talking about joy as the divine quality, the quality of the divine that was built into each one of us inherently simply because we are. That which created us, fill in the name of your choice, is inherently joyful. And that joy has been built into each of its creations, which conveniently for us includes every single person. And so we can know, at least on the intellectual level at this point, that joy is inherently a part of us. So just tuck that little seed in there. It might show up as big excitement. It might show up as the yay, yay, yay. It might show up as that sweet satisfaction, that morning coffee that's just so, that really great conversation with one of your beloveds you haven't connected with for a while. It might even come with, in the depth of sadness, knowing that still there is good. That too is joy. And so when we're going to make space for joy, what we don't need to do is go running after it and drag it into our lives. It's already right here. So where do we make the space? In our own minds. So today's talk is going to be about 3 mindset shifts that can allow us to not chase after joy, but simply be open to the joy that is. Simply be aware of it. Sound like a good plan? You sure? Okay. So the first mindset shift. The first mindset shift is to value the joy bringers that are already present in your daily life right now. So Sadhguru said, joy is not a goal. Joy is a measure. A measure of what? Of your alignment. Of your alignment with the good. See, we don't have to go out and get it. Joy is inherent. But we do have to notice it. We do have to become aware of it. Otherwise, joy could be all around us, and we would sit in the middle of a pile of joy and say, where is my joy? If we don't pause and notice. Now, I don't know what your everyday joy is, but I like to think about making space for the tiny little joys. And they might look like this, like a pile of kittens. There's a hummingbird that's taken up residence in the tree right above my swimming pool. And so every time I'm out there, this little hummingbird friend is making himself known, and that's a tremendous amount of joy. The barista that makes your preferred drink exactly the right way because they know you when it's like 2 3/4 pump of vanilla. I had a joyful, kind of hilarious thing happen on Wednesday at our midweek spiritual connection. There was a little ground squirrel that made its way into the classroom. Right. And that was the reaction of the beloveds who were present. Oh, but not Leslie. No, what did Leslie do? Crawled around under the tables to help this little guy. And Mike helped me cordon him off into a corner. And we did manage to catch him and whisper, it's okay, little buddy. You're going to be fine. We'll take you back out to the garden. And we let him go in the peace garden to go find his mama. He was a little juvenile. And then I had these faces are like, you really touched that rodent. But they weren't face to face with the little guy like I was. All I saw was like Disney creature with the big, big eyes. Like, It's okay, little buddy, we'll get you home. And we got him back outside where he belonged. Little joys. Now, that story could have been, oh my God, there was a rat in the classroom. Some of our students in the class kept saying it was a mouse. It wasn't a mouse, but I would have been the same if it were a mouse. It all depends on how you choose to look at it. I think Deneen was on par with me on this. I was seeing it as some Snow White action going on. There were animated bluebirds. We'll get you home, little baby. For me, that is joy. Helping another living creature be safe is a joy. Being in that room with beloveds that wanted to talk about spirit and spiritual practice is a joy. Having my early morning, was up well before sunrise this morning. Just happened to wake up even earlier than I normally would. And I had my morning tea, which is one of my rituals, and my pre-talk meditation. And my little hummingbird friend visited during that time. See, our brain is built to notice problems. It's part of what has kept us safe. It's part of why humans have continued to survive. Not every mammal that evolved is still with us today. The human brain evolved to notice what was not safe, what was not right, and to hone in on that so that we could protect ourselves. We have to manually input the joy notice. Our brain isn't structured for that. But the good thing is we are spirit in physical form, so we can choose to notice and manually input that. And when we do, when we choose to notice, guess what is more prevalent in our days? Things that are a problem and that we're upset about, or the many little tiny joys in our life? If your inside answer is the bad things, Leslie, thank goodness you're here for this talk. Because there are things that we can do to shift that balance. But I think for most of us, it's a bigger focus on what is beautiful about life. A drawing of we do not know what from our favorite toddler. They know, they tell us, it's right? And they know what they are saying. What a joy it is to hear baby babbles and giggles. So there is a practice that we can do that can help us remember to anchor into our tiny little joys, to notice them. And that is gratitude journaling. Really any gratitude practice, but we're going to get granular today. Gratitude journaling, where either in the morning or the evening, or if we get real wild, both, and we write down somewhere between 3 and a billion things that we were grateful for that we noticed that day. Now, I hear you, my I hate to journalers out there. I hear you. And I hear you, my I don't have anything to write down that I'm grateful for, friends out there. I've been in both of those places. There was a period of my life when I was holding myself to this gratitude journal practice, when every day for a long time, my gratitudes were Diet Coke, Advil, and my bed. And I was serious. There was a holy prayer to the Advil and Diet Coke. But at least I was present to that. And I truly believe that being present to even the most micro joys, even if it feels like it's the only thing you've got, are part of what helped me dig out of that hole to where I could remember, oh yeah, my friends. Oh yes, my children, my home, my work, the beloveds of New Vision Center, creating things. We can lose track of joy, but joy never actually leaves us. And when we practice gratitude, it realigns us to the truth of what is, so we can actually see it and enjoy it. So that was a nice, easy one, right? Let's get a little deeper in there. So the second mind shift I would invite you into is to schedule joy first. I know you're busy. I'm busy. We're all busy. Why are we all so busy? Holy moly. So busy. And we have this unfortunate tendency to kind of think, well, we'll get to the fun stuff after, right? Now, I am an acolyte of the Franklin Covey Planner. I realize this makes me an elderly crone. Yeah, laugh all you want. I know I'm 51, but I still write my calendar out. Here's to the crones. No, for real, here's to the crones. I'm kind of celebrating my step into, that phase of life where I get to be the lady that owns my age, owns my wisdom, and does not take any bleep. And one of the things I'm refusing to do is move to digital scheduling. Not because there's anything wrong with it. Many people, including my children, who are looking at me like, mother, get into the right century, get a lot out of digital scheduling. But for me, there's something about writing it down. And the system of the Franklin Covey Planner has this rule: plan your big rocks first. And your big rocks are the things that move you the most in the direction of where you want to be in life. And they're the things that we tend to forget to schedule in, right? The self-education, the silent retreat, the things that don't have a deadline and nobody's going to yell at you if you don't get it done. Nobody's even going to know if you don't do it, which is why what happens with the big rocks if we're not conscious about it? We never do them. They stay on our annual this year I'm gonna list forever. It's just me, right? I figured this whole group was above that, but just in case there's one person online, you and me, friend. So I use the system that helps me schedule in the big rocks first. And friends, I have noticed the biggest big rock for me is joy. The things that I know that light me up, that aren't important, don't meet a deadline. My boss isn't going to notice if I don't do it. Actually, my boss kind of might. Karen's a pretty big joy person. But if I don't schedule it in, how likely is it to happen? I had a few too many times where, running into the same girlfriend over and over, we said, we need to get together. We should get that on the calendar, and didn't. And about the fourth time, I was like, we're making appointments. And this is what Stephen Covey has to say about it. The key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. Ooh. We do not work for our calendar. Our calendar works for us. Our calendar works for us. And here's the thing. When we get stuck on that, but there's not a deadline, and I don't get paid for it, and whatever your favorite excuses are on that. When we get stuck on all of that, it's important to remember that joy is an inherently valuable and worthy experience by itself as it is. It is a divine quality. Joy is a form of spiritual practice. It doesn't matter if it's not part of something that we're working toward. What if we're just working toward noticing the joy in our lives and creating more of it? Here's the thing, though. This requires a pretty deep kind of honesty with ourselves about what really brings us joy, as opposed to what should bring us joy. For me, spiritual practice really does bring me joy, but I've heard people say, I really should enjoy my meditation. I really should. I should have joy in that. Friends, if you do not, consider trying a different kind of meditation. Does music light you up? When's the last time you went to a concert? They're all over the place, almost every day of the year in the Valley of the Sun, or wherever you're living, there's somebody playing live music. If time with your friends lights you up, Are we finally going to schedule that Monty Python night? We've been talking about it for weeks and weeks. If it's time with your family, get on a plane. I know it's expensive. It's not that expensive. Cut another expense for a month and go see the people that you love. We make it hard, and it's not hard. Get really real with yourself. And if there are things that you're spending your time, your money, your energy on that do not bring you joy, guess what? I just freed up your budget and your calendar for the things that really do. I've been pricing tickets to England. Where there's a certain baby that needs snuggling. Do I have money for a trip to England right now? No. Am I going to find it? Yes, yes. And whatever that is for you, here's the practice to take that idea into action is Monday morning, every week, when you're looking at that weekly schedule, schedule in your joy before your appointments. Before the dentist, before the meeting, before whatever you have to do for the HOA. I swear I get letters weekly. Something needs to be done for my HOA. Put your own joy ahead of those things. If you believe that joy is an inherent divine quality that we are called by the divine to express, then it's easy to see its importance, right? I think there's a little piece of Puritanism still hanging out in a lot of us, where because it's fun, it isn't as valuable. It's inherently not as good. In this mind shift, what if we threw that out? I don't know if you've noticed, but we are not Puritans, right? We're not Calvinists. All the many, many, many faith traditions that held and still hold that idea that if it's fun, it must be somehow less valuable or even bad. We don't practice those religions, and we don't have to follow those rules, which leads me into my third mind shift that I invite you into, which is make your own rules. We do not have to follow the rules of the world. In fact, generally, it's a good idea not to. Now, speed limits with the, of course, Arizona adjustment. Otherwise, people are going to be beeping at you because, friends, if you don't live in Arizona, there's like a 12-mile-an-hour adjustment to all speed limits. It's just true. Is it good? I don't know. It is just true. I mean, follow major laws. Beyond that, we do not need to follow the rules of our childhood. So now my rule of my childhood was, if you're sick enough to stay home from school, then you're too sick to be on the TV or play with the games or go outside, right? And if there's work to be done, the fun comes later. And there's something that I have noticed about adulthood that perhaps you too have noticed. The work's never done, ever. Laundry in particular, what the heck? There are only 2 people that live in my house. How is there this much laundry? I don't know. But between laundry and dishes, if I waited for joy until the laundry and dishes were done, I would be scheduling my joy out in 2035. And I'm not willing to do that. I'm not willing to do that. Now, part of the reason I'm so adamant about making our own rules is because of this artist that I have been obsessed with for decades. She was a nun, and her name was Corita Kent. And she was a screen printer. She taught herself to screen print while she was a nun by ordering a DIY kit on the internet and teaching herself to do it. And she made this beautiful art that was a juxtaposition of politics and peace and her religion. And she became very, very well known. Her work is in the Met. And she eventually became the dean of the art department at Immaculate Heart College. And one of the things she was especially known for was her rules for the art department at Immaculate Heart College, which you can see there. I mean, you can't read it because I'm going to give you a peek in a moment about a few of those rules. And her idea here was it's all about the work. But work in this context meant make something, create something. It's all about the work. Keep making the work. Keep doing the thing, and good things will happen. It doesn't matter if you like what you made today. Keep doing the thing. Keep knitting the sweater. Keep growing the garden. Keep getting together for movie nights with your friends. Keep doing the thing, and something amazing will happen, right? So I thought, let's grab some of Corita's rules and do the joy version of her rules because they are yummy. So here's the first one. I didn't have to change this one. Find something you trust. Try trusting it for a while. Like perhaps the philosophy that you go and learn about on Sundays. Or something else that you're excited about. How about this one? Consider everything an experiment. Reverend Karen and I take this very seriously in the office where we say everything is a pilot program. Then if something doesn't work, we're like, it was a pilot program. We were just trying it out. How about this one? Nothing is a mistake. There is no win and no fail. There's only joy. Of course, she said there's only work. There's only art. For us, there's only joy. Here's a great one. The only rule is joy. If you seek joy, it will lead to something. It's the people who seek joy all the time who eventually catch on to things. What if you lived your life according to that rule? How would your job be different? How would your relationships be different? How would your hobbies be different? The only rule is joy? Oh, friends, you wouldn't be able to get me out of my art studio. I'd pop out once a week to be like, do your spiritual practice, and then go back to making jewelry. At the very bottom of her art rules, which were consistently different all the time, there should be new rules next week. Because not only do we not have to follow the world's rules, but if we make a rule and it doesn't work for us, we don't have to follow that one either. We get to change it whenever we want. That is the spiritual principle of freedom. And we could all use digging into that a little bit deeper. So here's the practice. Create your own rule list and follow it for a while. And if a few of them don't work, switch them up. Don't allow yourself to be held hostage by a political persuasion or a philosophical belief or something your mom said in 1964 that doesn't fit you anymore. The world is full of rich ideas, and you get to pick the ones that work for you. That's freedom. So make a little list. Carry it around with you. Check in on it once or twice a day. You might find that that becomes one of your tiny little joys. And so, to bring it all together, I found this quote from Ernest Holmes from the 1938 textbook, where he said, "If we gaze longingly at joy, it will make its home with us, and we shall enter its portals and be happy." Making joy a courtship. So here's the invitation this week. Turn your attention to joy and see what it changes in you. Switch that mindset up and see what blossoms. Are we down for the challenge? And so it is. So let's anchor that in with some prayer, shall we? Please join me. As I remember that there is only one consciousness, one joyful, expectant goodness that has created everyone and everything out of its own substance and built that joy into everything. From the comedy show of chasing a little ground squirrel to the sweetness of a sweet baby face, to laughing until we snort milk out of our noses. That's something a friend said. It is in the quietude and the peacefulness that joy is absolutely everywhere. And as I remember that it's the truth of my being, I remember it's the truth of everyone, everywhere, including everyone within the sound of my voice. That joy is always available at the center of our own beingness. And so knowing this, I speak my word now for each and every one, affirming that those places and spaces where joy is most needed, joy is already present. That attention is being called to those places of joy. Opportunities are opening up for more such joy. That the relationships and the activities and the sweet moments that call attention to joy are shining brighter every single second. And that if there are hearts within the hearing of this prayer that think that joy is not available to them, that is being healed in this moment. That sweet spirit is pouring down over every single beloved, soothing the wounded places and allowing those joyful spots to glimmer and catch attention. So grateful I am for the joy in and as each and every one. And so I call it good and release it into the action of universal law. It is already done, and so it is.